Hey everyone, Pierre here, aka Perry from Rob and Perry Gaming, with our first ever video review. Today I'll be talking about the hit independent AAA title Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice for the PlayStation 4, and it's also available on PC. As this is our first ever review, I will quickly explain how we will go about scoring. Firstly, I will provide a little backstory behind the developer, then move on to discuss story, gameplay, graphics, audio, and then provide a final verdict. This will be based on a star rating, 1 being awful, all the way up to 5 being exceptional. Thank you for checking us out, and hope you enjoy. Although they did release a game called Kung Fu Chaos on the original Xbox in 2003 under the name of Just Add Monsters, Ninja Theory is most notably known for their rise to prominence with the release of Heavenly Sword in 2007 on the PlayStation 3. Despite receiving award nominations and generally positive reviews from critics, Heavenly Sword unfortunately didn't pack a strong enough punch with the gaming audience to greenlight the already written sequel with plans to make a trilogy. Next, they tried their hand on a video game adaptation of the acclaimed novel Journey to the West, with Enslaved: Odyssey to the West on PS3 and Xbox 360. Despite some technical hitches, again it received high praise, but it just didn't seem to gain much interest from the gaming audience. Then came DMC Devil May Cry, and we all know how that went, with the sheer horror from the fans of the rebooted Dante. Yet another highly regarded title from Ninja Theory that did not gain the attention it deserved. After some tinkering with the now defunct Toys to Life series, Disney Infinity, Ninja Theory has now delved into a far more mature and thought-provoking genre with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. When it was first showcased, I honestly thought that this was simply a spiritual successor to Heavenly Sword, and that it would be primarily focusing on hack-and-slash combat within a Norse environment. As production progressed, we all then understood that this game would look deeper into the life of a girl with psychosis, a taboo subject for many still in this day and age. I definitely wanted to play this title, and upon finding out that it was also going to be at a lower price point, I had to get my hands on it. Unfortunately for Senua, I just bought a Nintendo Switch, which took up a huge amount of my time, but a few months later, at a sale for an even lower price point to entice me more, I jumped into the journey to visit Helheim. So how does it stack up? Let's find out. Hellblade tells the deep and engaging story of a girl named Senua in 8th century Orkney who suffers from psychosis since childhood. After losing a loved one, she tries to save his soul, even if this results in sacrificing herself to the gods. Along the way, she uncovers truths behind her past, possibly explaining the source of her internal horrors. I won't go much further in detail in the events that occur during this journey, but I can say this with absolute assurance that the story kept me on my toes. Admittedly, in the first 10 minutes of the game, I did not pay much attention to a specific character she first meets, as I was paying so much more attention to all the voices in Senua's mind, and also feasting my eyes on the visual splendour of the game, but from there on I fully immersed myself in the narrative. As well as voice narration, there are also stone tablets of which Senua can focus on, which provide further tales and backstory on the Northmen and the Norse gods. I really appreciated how the story unfolded and seemed to be showcased as 3 large acts. It certainly was an emotional rollercoaster ride which ebbed and flowed dramatically through the 7 to 8 hour run-through, one that made me feel exhausted by its finale. The gameplay in Senua's Sacrifice consists of 2 main elements, puzzle solving and close quarters combat. With regards to the puzzle solving, it starts with trying to find symbols that match within the environment to open doors to reach the next stage. For example, there would be a symbol highlighted in red on the door, and then you would have to search around the environment to find a matching element. The use of this was predominant in the first act, and it began to feel a little bit repetitive and monotonous. I would simply walk around the area, find the highlighted zone, and then go into focus mode, simply span the camera around until it locked onto something. However, as the game progressed, there were more variations on how to find the symbols, which was much more enjoyable. This included light and torches to shine the right shadow, and even a tense maze sequence. The next use of puzzle solving was through illusions. Although easy to solve, it was more interesting to me personally. Senua would need to look through the arches to uncover things that were not first seen. For example, a bridge may be broken, but once looking through the arch it would appear. It may seem super obvious and may appear to have a lack of input from the player themselves, but as the game progresses there are minor changes your eye might not catch. Admittedly, there was a point in the second act of the game where I walked through arches not seeing a single change, and I thought I somehow broke the game. But after a good 15 to 20 minutes I noticed the alterations. Slightly embarrassing on my behalf. Once again, this use of illusions was altered even further in the final stages of the game, but I will remain silent on that not to spoil anything. Moving on to combat. Combat was usually triggered within a wide open area, whereby dark creatures engage with you in a one-on-one fights. Throughout the game, Senua has a dark rot growing up her arm. After an initial battle whereby you cannot win, the game explains that each time she dies, the dark rot grows even further. If the rot reaches her head and mind, it is game over and your save data will be wiped out clean. This appears to be a fake source of dread for gamers. Although the dark rot does appear to grow, it seems to do more so to tie in with the narrative rather than as a result of playing the game poorly. It starts off with simple sword-wielding creatures, but as the game progressively gets harder, more variations of fighters appear, ones with hammers, shields, crazy berserkers to name a few. You can use triangle for heavy attacks, square for fast attacks, circle for melee kick, X to evade, and R1 to block. R2 also slows down time, with Senua in a focus mode. Here she can attack enemies in quick succession. What's really nice is that the devs at Ninja Theory have allowed for adaptive button mapping, so if you don't like the layout then you can change it to suit your playstyle. To be honest though, I left it as it was, it already felt intuitive. On the whole for me, combat was very fun. I think the finesse and fluidity of the animations really helped. When getting into the flow of the action and being able to map out and anticipate the enemy's attacks, it was really enjoyable. There were 2 combat segments in the final act which I became increasingly frustrated with though. I would get stuck against the walls or against enemies lurking behind me and I could not escape to save myself. It was a rage quitting moment after several failed attempts, but after mellowing myself and trying the next day with a level head, I got through it and felt very satisfying. We definitely have to start off with the motion capture. This is without a doubt the best motion capture footage I have seen in a video game thus far. It was absolutely outstanding. I really enjoyed how cinematic the shots were. Ninja Theory included a film grain throughout the game, and there were certain shots which had scratches, light leaks, and smudges on screen which made the world feel all the more realistic. Even the over-shoulder camera movements were as if an entity was moving along behind Senua, and it felt all the more immersive. There were also amazing environments with an immense sense of scale and scope, and the lighting was incredibly realistic, and the change in weather effects was superb. As the game progressed, it became a little bit more finicky. In confined spaces I could sometimes see the grids outside of the walls, and sometimes Senua would float across the floor without me moving the analog stick. This predominantly happened directly after loading when I died. These instances were incredibly rare though, and all at the tail end of the game. It definitely did not detract from the game in any way. I also felt it was a little bit jarring when they used real-life human footage alongside that of Senua, but it was used very subtly, and although it took me out of the experience, it wasn't too bad.
He's there, you know it.
There's no doubt about
He's
it.
lost.
The source of the darkness is in Helheim. You took him from me. I thank you.
Challenge me. Darkness is coming. Continue its path. Get it. There must be hope. Now.
This game is truly unique in the way it utilises audio, the most obvious of which is the awesome use of 3D binaural audio. Although I personally did not try the game with headphones as suggested when booting up the game, the 3D audio still worked incredibly well with my surround sound system. The numerous voices surrounding me was incredibly engrossing, almost ASMR in the way that the voices spoke, subtle yet impactful. Voice acting was amazing across the board. Senua herself was absolutely amazing. The motion capture actress Melina Jurgens did not hold back and encapsulated the spectrum of emotions. The voice actor for the darkness was incredibly sinister. Originally I thought it was Ralph Ineson, known in movies such as The Witch, but it's actually by Stephen Hartley, who has also voiced as Eredin in The Witcher 3. The environmental sounds were incredible too, from the tranquil noise of the waves crashing, the wind howling, the trees slowly swaying, to the bombastic moments of the high tension with thunder and lightning smashing down and terrifying fires burning all around. Occasionally the audio went ever so slightly out of sync during cutscenes, but it was only for a few seconds before reverting back to normal. On the whole, I've really appreciated the experience that Ninja Theory provided us. I say experience more than a game because what hooked me most was the journey that Senua was taking and the narrative behind all that was occurring. Although actually very linear, it did not feel that way, and the environments were majestic in terms of scope and scale. The motion capture was absolutely insane, definitely up there with what we've seen so far of The Last of Us 2. This is absolutely outstanding considering that Ninja Theory is technically an independent studio. The motion capture performance by Melina Jurgens was incredibly genuine, and I felt her pain and anguish. It was horrifyingly mesmerising to watch, and she without a doubt deserved the 2017 Game Award for Best Performance. Absolutely amazing considering she never previously acted, but was a video editor for Ninja Theory. It felt like I was watching a Shakespeare play, especially with the real-life human interactions. Perhaps it was the monologues, the conversations, unknown entities, the composition of the cutscenes that made me feel like I was watching a dramatic theatre production. The gameplay was good enough. The devs ordered it to be progressively harder as the story developed, which kept me engaged. And I really appreciated the effort Ninja Theory took with their research, as their gameplay elements were based on real-life examples of what people with psychosis see in their day-to-day life. But as previously noted, it was the narrative journey I felt was at the forefront. I was invested in Senua, and I wanted to find out all the mysteries she was trying to uncover. My heart would be pounding in the most dire situations she was finding herself in, and sighing huge relief in the moments of calmness. I did ask myself once completing the game, so was it all real? But as the director of Ninja Theory rightly says in the accompanying feature, it's real for her, it's real for Senua, and that's what has left such a lasting impression.